Hey guys, here we are, 2022 real estate market forecast. We have our first speaker of our 2022 session, Doug Shepard with Shepard Realtor Group, and now, is it BHG Champions?
Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Champions.
And just so you're keeping the champions.
We are.
Okay, we're going to come back to that at the end because I have all sorts of questions and some fun stuff we're going to talk about. But
all right.
At any rate, for those of you that saw our introductory video about a week ago, I said we were going to be interviewing about 16, 18 speakers. We are pretty much going to be doing 16 to 18 speakers. We're going to finish up with Chris Thornburg. I am talking to Chris right now about doing a live event. We are obviously in studio right now. We're going to have this on our social media, not live, but we're potentially going to build up to a live event. So if we're going to do that, you will be finding out about that very, very quickly, and we'll probably be looking at somewhere around the end of March, first week of April. But for now, we're going to do our speaker series. Doug's the first one out of the chute. For those, well, most of you, if you're in the Southern California Inland Empire market, everybody knows Doug from IVAR, from California Association of Realtors, Shepard Realty Group, basically a legend. Maybe we'll talk a little politics if you want. You didn't tell me anything was off limits, so.
I'm an open book, let's do it.
41st Congressional District a few years ago. We'll get to that before we close out. So at any rate, Doug spoke at our forecast, what was that, 3 years ago?
The last one I could, yeah.
4 years ago? You did one or two?
I've done a couple.
Okay.
We covered some topics.
Well, this is the deal. As most of you know, a lot of the folks that were on those panels, that wasn't the best presentation for someone like you because you're sharing it with 3 people and we only had 30 minutes and at any rate. So giving you 5 minutes is like giving me 5 minutes. That's just not enough. We need more. So we're doing long format interviews. So here we are. I have tons of questions. Doug and I have done almost zero preparation for this. He was just generous enough to come in and say, hey, here we are. So first of all, broker owner, you are part of what I call the industry side of our market forecast.
Okay.
Last I checked, you're not an economist.
I am not.
Okay, so we have the economists coming, Chris Thornburg and those type of people, and then we have the industry guys, which I'm not an economist, I'm an industry guy. So we're bringing in people like Doug, broker owner, real estate company, Outlook Escrow, a staple, legendary company in the Riverside market forever. Doug also does some property management. So the perspective we're looking for today is from an industry guy. If you want to give us your 2 cents worth on where you think this crazy market's going, then of course we'll take that as well. Okay. So at any rate, so let's do this because we have not really talked a whole heck of a lot the last couple of years. So I want to get your assessment of 2020 and 2021, which obviously those, let's call those the COVID years, right? So what surprised you in the last couple of years, or how were you feeling a couple of years ago when we were first getting into this as opposed to how you felt in the middle of it? Just from a pure business perspective.
Okay.
So what'd you see?
Well, first of all, I always say that the inevitable almost never happens. People predict things. Unfortunately, the inevitable did happen with COVID. Part of the issue was not COVID as much as how our elected officials reacted.
Right.
So I have been through every market since 1983. I'm in my 39th year in the real estate industry, been a broker since 91. And during those years, we started at 18% interest rates. Yep. Then we went through the Moreno Valley downturn, which was the base closures in the 91. And then we had the big, great downturn in 2008 and 9, and I'd been through all of those things. So I saw this coming, what they were saying in the media, and I said, and I posted this, I said...
Oh, you posted it, so we actually can go back and we can see this.
Well, it's a picture of all of my real estate signs from 1983.
Okay, I think I remember that post.
Yeah, so what I actually did was just lay them out and said, bring it on, COVID. I don't know what will happen in the next 2 years or in the short term, but I've been through a lot.
Right.
So, not to take it lightly, but as it unfolded, we followed the guidelines, but did not give up and moved forward.
Right.
Didn't close my office, as many offices did. I'm an independent, I didn't have corporate to answer to. So I pushed forward, followed the guidelines, did open houses as we could. I did all of those things because frankly, my customers were demanding it.
Right.
I did not see a downturn in demand nor in desire. And two things happened that I think you'll agree with. You've been around a long time, and for 25, 30 years, the economists and everybody, Lance, has been saying two things. One, the baby boomers are going to sell their houses at some day,
Okay.
and the millennials are going to buy those houses. People said that the millennials were going to stay in the lofts in the downtown areas. Well, I always knew that when I was young, once I got married, the
Right.
dog, well, in our case, it's the horses, but the wife, the kids came along, and quite frankly, we all moved to the suburbs or moved into
want
these
a house.
houses. We
Right.
want a house. We want a lifestyle.
Yep.
The millennials are doing it. So
Correct.
during this period, I saw there are some factors that went on, such as why people stayed in houses longer. But at the end of the day, the demand was strong.
Yep.
And so I decided that I wasn't going to let these things get us down. So to answer your question more succinctly, we had no choice but to move forward. Luckily, we're in an industry where our California Association of Realtors and the National worked hard to make sure we were deemed essential.
Yep. Very quickly. Like
Very
almost, almost
quickly,
immediately.
which
Yep.
I'm so proud that they did it, and it shows the strength of our associations. But at the end of the day, we had a service that needed to be provided, and as an industry, we moved forward, and I moved forward, and I didn't let it stop us. So, did I anticipate that it'd be 2 years out? I had no idea.
Right.
I didn't know that the response would be so. I did do some political things. I spoke about it and went to the county and said, hey, look, we can't close down these industries or these small businesses. But we really just needed to move forward, and that's what I did.
Right.
Now, we're a smaller company, 30-some sales associate. We do property management, my escrow. But we just supplied a service that was needed within the guidelines that were set forward and prospered, actually.
Which none of that surprises me because I know you, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be in this business from 1983 for, I hate to tell you, now 40 years, right? With an attitude that says, hey, I'm scared of this, I'm going
Yeah.
to lay down and check out.
Yeah.
Although I think I got scared for a minute and laid down for a minute and then realized, well, I'm all in. How do you check out? You're not going to, you're going to do what you can, knuckle down. So, but this is my question, and I didn't hear this in the answer. So, was 2020 and 2021, let's just put them all together, record-breaking years for you? Because it seems like they are record-breaking years for pretty much every segment of the real estate industry, whether it's appreciation or we can split hairs on unit sales because we know we have inventory.
Right.
We'll probably get into that here maybe right now. But
Right.
So at the end of and even with escrow, I'm assuming you had really, really good years because
We had-
everybody's either lying to me or they had really good years.
No, we had really good years. And the numbers were good, but the average sale price was better.
Right.
And so, because we're in a commission-based and a percentage-based, we had a great return. And it allowed us to do a couple of things: expand, recruit, and to hire.
Right.
We need to talk about hiring, though. We need to talk about the availability of quality people.
Oh my gosh!
We will.
Okay. Well, let's do a 30-second, and then we'll come back to that.
All right.
I tried to hire somebody yesterday.
Yeah.
Minimum wage is $14 now. We're in Southern California. For those of you that are wondering, it's going to automatically go to $15. I
Yeah.
think next January.
Yeah.
We tried to hire a gal, $15 an hour, starting wage, entry level. She is a kid. She is working at a core I've never heard of, Zoomies. I don't even know what Zoomies is. At any rate, let's just put it this way. She laughed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm exaggerating a little bit. She's
Yeah.
like, thank you very much. I'm not interested in your minimum wage job.
Yeah.
I think I'll go back to my retail store at the mall and make a lot more money. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Which is, now granted, it's a minimum wage, entry level position, basically a receptionist type thing. But
Right.
anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, let's get back to the real estate side. Appreciation. Okay, you talked about, hey, maybe the units weren't record-breaking units, but because we were selling at higher prices, again, we're more or less commission-based. The higher the price, the more commission we're going to make, escrow fee, whatever it happened to be. So, I'm talking in generalities, guys. Approximately a 20% appreciation in 2020. Insert your market here, a little more, a little less. The same thing in 2021.
Yeah.
So I guess we like. Do we like that, or do we have concerns about that?
Yes, we always have concerns. I don't think it's sustainable, but I wasn't concerned at the time. I saw that there was a high demand and a low supply.
Okay.
And that's basic economics. I don't have to have a degree.
Well, are you concerned now for 2022?
I'm concerned that we will not. I'm not concerned, but I don't believe we will have a 20% increases. although I didn't know that we'd have 20% increases last year.
Nobody called that.
Nobody called that, not even Carr and I didn't either. But there are pockets that were different. But I don't know that. But I don't even know that's a good thing. You get down into lower appreciation. I do believe we'll have appreciation.
Right.
And lower appreciation is fine, and it's good for the market.
Okay, I'm talking a little out of school, and I got to be careful because this is going to be probably on social media tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. You may know it. I really like him. He's the economist for Windermere. So a shout out to all of our friends at Windermere.
I don't know.
He did his thing. He's a British guy. I've seen him speak a couple times at their forecast. Very impressive. I think he's exclusive to Windermere. At any rate, I believe just recently he did his forecast. Our market, inland Southern California,
Right.
I believe the number he's projecting for appreciation is 15, 16, 17%. Okay, so your face is how I feel. So maybe you should describe to me how I think.
Well, I'm not
picking up
afraid
from
of
you.
that because, if the underlying causes are supply and demand,
Right.
and they're not arbitrarily held up like they were in the early 2000s with mortgage products and things
Right.
like that, it's inevitable. Affordability is a factor.
Yep.
We have inflation. There's so many factors, and we're going to talk broadly, and I'm not an economist, but inflation and all these things often should concern us. But at the end of the day, I'm not that concerned that he's projecting 17. I don't think so. Carr says 7 or 9%.
I think they're 5.
5 to 7, and they're conservative in a lot of
Right.
ways.
But they're also predicting 5% fewer units sold.
They are.
I think, right? We might be off by 1 or 2 points.
Yes,
but-
I have seen numbers that say a little more units, and like maybe more units, certainly not less units. And this does not concern me from the fact that the underlying reasons for this are that what concerns me is that we need to build more houses
Right.
to slow this down. But we have a demand. We have a high
When
demand.
is that going to happen?
It's not happening. It's not going to happen.
How long have we been talking about that?
It's not going to happen, Lance.
Joel Singer, California Association of Realtors CEO, just retired. We've been listening to Joel and Leslie and all of the Sierra
Yeah.
people for as long as
Yeah.
I can remember. I mean, at least for the last 15 plus years, we're not building enough housing in California. It's a problem.
Well,
And-
unless the will of the individual communities and neighbors wish it so, and the environmentalist laws change, we are not going to have more
Right.
housing in California. And it has nothing to do with demand or supply, or the need for it. It has to do with
Right.
politics.
So our solution for that, which by the way, our second speaker in our series coming up are the guys from Back Porch Homes. Those are the ADU guys, the accessory dwelling units, which appears to be the solution from California legislature. Says we're not going to build more houses, but we'll let you put in a secondary home pretty much anywhere. Maybe we'll do some lot splits with, I forget what, that's SB 9 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm pretty sure though, I want to try to fact check both of us in real time. I'm pretty sure, because I remember the 5% number, I'm pretty sure CAR's most recent forecast is a 5% increase in prices, which is conservative compared to the Windermere gentleman, who I'm forgetting his name, we'll put that up somewhere. But a 5% fewer unit sales, I'm pretty sure. But that almost makes sense because we have no inventory. I'm doing my sales meeting today.
Yeah.
For the last couple of weeks, I think I was in the city of Claremont. I have an office in Claremont, beautiful office in the village. As of a week ago, 13 active listings in the entire city.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, one of my Claremont agents, they seem to be rising to the top lately, took a listing in Laverne. We're talking about Laverne, just right next, basically same area. 10 active listings in the entire city of Laverne.
Yeah.
I think Riverside right now, which is home for you, last I checked was like 175 listings.
Which is half of what it could be, should be.
Crazy. So, okay, so that being said,
Yeah.
low supply.
Yeah.
Demand's still pretty strong.
Yeah.
Talk about interest rates in a minute. So, of course, we're going to see another 20% appreciation, right?
Possibly. Interest rates have some effect, but not much. I mean, Bruce Norris, that we all know and love, he says that they don't affect it much. I don't see it affecting it much. There will be some affordability issues on the lower end. What should concern us, which is a whole different thing of the audience, is rents. Rents, we're both in the property management. Things we were renting for 18 are now 25.
And more.
And more,
Yeah.
easily, if you can find it. And those are the things that will, now those happily drive people. In fact, I just spoke with a woman in the car on the way here.
Yep.
That was looking for a rental and having a very difficult time.
Right.
And,
They come into our office in tears.
They do.
Matter of fact, one of the people we were hiring, we're hiring some people,
Yeah.
you need a job, call us,
Yeah.
was to basically do tenant applications and screening.
Right.
And as I'm interviewing this young man, I'm like, hey, I want you to know, I mean, this is not a real difficult job, but some people skills are required because
Yeah.
you're going to be, just like in real estate,
Yeah.
we're getting 30, 40 offers for every house we're selling.
Yeah.
We're getting 30, 40
Yeah,
applications,
rental applications, yeah.
which means you've got, 39 disappointed tenants, and sometimes those tenants come at you, right? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, hey, I need it. Or worse, this happened today. I think I was leaving to come see you. There was a tenant, I'm overstating it a little bit, but basically in our lobby in tears.
Yeah.
She needs a place.
Yeah.
We don't have, I think we have 2 rentals.
Yeah.
2. It wasn't that long ago we had 52.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So again, our market's a little bit different. And by the way, state of California, for all intents and purposes, is in rent control right now. We've got
Yeah.
the 5% plus the CPI,
Yeah,
not to exceed
yeah.
10% annual rent increases. But I believe Inman or somebody put out last week, average rent increases across the country at 40%.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not just a California issue.
Right. So, well, 2 things about that. Number one, again, I think you said unsustainable a few minutes ago in a little different context.
Yeah, in a different
But that's unsustainable. That's a problem.
That is.
But don't you also think that creates a floor or at least bolsters the floor for any sort of downward pressure on real estate values? I mean, if I didn't want to buy a house, or if I felt I couldn't, or maybe interest rates were rising a little bit and I was concerned about that, and I'm like, oh, maybe I won't buy. And then I said, well, yeah, but we need a bigger house because I got another kid. And I went to try to rent. And last time I'm like, what? Now my $1,500 a month rental is $2,700 for the extra bedroom?
Yeah.
Maybe I decide I want to buy.
Well,
Right.
it's already driving the market. I see
Right.
people all the time come into our office and say, my rent got increased, can we buy? Or we're selling houses to the tenants that are occupying it.
Right.
At the end of the day, most things are set for the medium income in an area.
Right.
But housing is such short demand that it's pushing it up above what is comfortable with people. Today, we used to have, not what is 50% of incomes now are going to housing in LA. Right. It's pushing the Inland Empire the same way. That is unsustainable, and at some point that would have to stop. But how are you going to do it? Market rates are market rates, unless the government steps in, which I do not endorse, and put some caps on it, because they're not building any more units.
Right.
It looks like they are, but we're 100,000 every year short.
Right.
And I see it. You don't have to be an economist, nor do you have to be in our business to drive down the street and see not enough housing.
Well, and if you do see new construction, housing, it's not single families for sale.
No.
It's basically the 500-unit apartment building.
Which would be fine, because that will push the cap, if you bring that in. Whatever the housing is, if you have 500 new units, that puts a limit on the local economy. But those things can only be solved by liberal policies on building. I don't mean liberal leftist policies.
Let's loosen them up a little bit.
Loosen it up, and until the NIMBYs, not in my backyards, and the environmental lobbyists changes, and this isn't just me, and it isn't just the Republican side or the Democrat side. Everybody's saying there's not enough housing, and Gavin Newsom's throwing money at it, but not solving the core problem.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, I don't want to put words in Chris Thornberg's mouth and some of the other folks that we've got coming later on, but we've talked about this every single year.
It's infinite. Yeah.
And it's just, and there's no solution. I mean, the solution is we know what we need to do, but will it actually happen in the state of California?
No.
No. So basically 20% appreciation year over year forever. I mean, I know.
I don't know that it all depends on if the incomes can sustain it, because at some point somebody's going to have to qualify for something. If interest rates rise a little, it pushes some people out. But at the end of the day, and today, because of inflation, and we just talked about it, you're hiring somebody at $15 an hour?
Well, no, I'm not.
I'm not either. I offered somebody, an entry-level person in one of my businesses at $20. She said, no, I need 23, and I can only work 4 days a week. And I'm going, well, what's your alternative?
And half of that from home.
But I said, okay, but what's your alternative? And she says, I can go somewhere else.
Right.
And I go, okay.
Right.
There's such a shortage. So I don't know that we solved anything here, but my opinion is that we have appreciation that will maintain itself, 20% maybe, but it'll certainly be, over 7 or 8%.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you can buy a house, do it.
Right.
If you have to sell.
But why would I buy a house at a 4% interest rate, Doug? It's a 4% interest rate.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Right? We're joking.
Yeah,
We're joking,
yeah.
folks. I mean, right now, again, let's put a date stamp on this so we know where we're at. Today is March 1st,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. A couple of months ago, our consumers were getting rates at 3, give or take. Now we're basically at 4, give or take. Which is just insanely fantastic, even at 4%.
Well, it's a great interest.
We all should be running out and buying houses.
Well, here's the thing. We can all talk about this. There's the guy that's on the little street in Riverside, and he says, "Yeah, I remember when these were $35,000 houses." Well, I remember when interest rates were higher and lower. It
Right.
doesn't matter. The person needs this housing now. Housing is a basic commodity, so you need the housing. And people want home ownership. We forget, and I don't know who our audience is. Is this general public or mostly realtors?
We're all
both.
over the place. And there's
Okay,
going to be some things. This is always one of my dangers because I'm looking at my little cheat sheet here, and I want to
haven't even got through it
well,
yet.
yeah, but I want to segue into some inside baseball stuff here, and I
Yeah.
want to pretend like it's just two broker owners talking,
Okay.
which frankly we might lose a little bit of our audience. But great question. So let's clarify that. Our audience is everybody that you might think of in the real estate world. We have buyers, we have sellers, we have landlords, we have tenants, we have other agents, mortgage, title. So it's kind of the real estate community.
Well, let me just put this in where I'm coming from, and maybe it'll pull together some of where I come from. One, I believe in home ownership. Home ownership isn't the house; it's the bundle of rights, and it's home ownership.
Right.
Secondly, wouldn't you love to buy all the house? Wouldn't you love to? Maybe you do. You're pretty smart. Own all the houses that you owned in 2005 that you overpaid for.
Right.
Today.
Right.
That everybody said, "Oh, you overpaid." Today, those houses are back, and they'd be paid off today.
Well, forget about those. What about every single property you've ever owned from the very first
yeah,
house you bought?
I'm just
when you
saying,
got
but
married or
everybody
selling?
said you overpaid for in 2005. It all crashes.
Yep.
And then, but if you hold on to that, I'm saying that most of those people that had to, we talk about that huge time, and you were big in it, and you understand it, and you did some great work then, by the way, with the legislatures and things. But in reality, home ownership is sustainable. It's where the wealth comes from. So I believe strongly in it. So yes, buy a house, pay the 4% if you can, tie up a 30-year fixed rate loan. You want rent control? The 30-year fixed rate loan is the best rent control ever.
Yep.
I have people, I was just at a probate. 2 sisters that never did anything in their lives, both of them unemployed, just inherited a house from their mother.
Right.
They're about to collect $450,000 each.
Right.
Now, what they do with it is be interesting.
Thank God for mom. Right.
Thank God for mom making that payment for 25, 30 years.
Right.
The other thing is that, retirement I'm not going to have a retirement soon, but those realities are that numbers of home ownership build wealth, and that's why you should buy. And I don't care what the price is today or what the interest rate is today.
Well, and you're so confident in the market, as am I. And I'm going to segue into that inside baseball conversation we were just talking about. Myself and my son and my parents, family business, we've been broker owners now forever. You've got about 5 years on me in the business. I started in '87. You've basically been doing this for 40 years, broker owner. Just recently acquired Better Homes and Garden franchise in Riverside. It's not you put an extra word in front of it. Is it Champions or?
It's always been Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Champions.
Oh, Real Estate Champions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought an existing company.
Understood. An existing company. John Schulte's company, for those of you that know John. So you're putting your money where your mouth is. I mean, if you didn't have confidence in real estate, generally speaking, and all the beliefs that you stated, or if you didn't have confidence in the business model, which is really where I was going.
Oh, okay.
Because I've had massive concerns about our business model for a long time.
Yeah, you do.
Some of those, and I still do.
Yeah.
But some of those concerns maybe aren't quite. I tend to be some dramatic sometimes. Yeah, for those of you that know me, I can get a little wound up. But maybe some of my concerns I had a couple of years ago were just that. They were just kind of a little overly dramatic. Honestly, when I see someone like you and if not that you weren't already in the business at Shepherd Realty Group, but saying, hey, I'm going to double down or triple down, and I'm going with the franchise and joining the Realogy brand again.
Yep.
That actually kind of makes me feel good. So I'm like, okay, maybe our business model is okay. Maybe there's some opportunity here for us. But it all gets back to what you just said a minute ago. You know, at some point, the Gen what's the older Gen? Not the Gen X, the Gen Z, the baby boomers. The baby boomers are going to sell. I think we're all disappointed because they're hanging on a little longer than we had hoped.
Well, we should talk about that, but I will.
The Gen Xers, who we thought were never going to buy anything, or is it the Xers? What's the millennials?
Millennials.
The millennials. We're like, where's the millennial? We're an Xer, right? Are we an X?
Well, I'm older than you. I'm a baby boomer.
You're a baby boomer.
I'm at the tail end.
Oh my God.
Let's
Okay.
not dwell on that.
All right, well, let's leave that alone. Millennials, we're like, it wasn't that long ago, we're like, shit, are these guys ever going to buy a house?
Yeah.
And now guess what? They're buying houses.
Yep.
You know, I look at Drew and I look at Drake and all of their friends. A few years ago, wanted nothing to do with it, but you nailed it. They're getting married. They're having kids.
Yep.
They're getting dogs.
Yep.
And guess what? They want a house and they want a yard. So,
I don't
you have confidence in the model. That's kind of where I was going.
All right, well, let me tell you why I have confidence in the model. First of all, I have confidence in the industry. There are many models that can exist in this industry. The first thing is that I so believe in, and the reason why I'm so involved in the industry as a whole, from California Association of Realtors and NAR, is because I believe in the industry, and I believe that we have created something, one, that fills the needs of an entrepreneurial mindset. The first thing that I believe in is the individual agent. The people that come into this business, more so, the ones that certainly succeed, know that it's a business and they're there because they're entrepreneurial. They don't want a ceiling, they don't want a floor on their income, and they understand there's no ceiling. And so I love those people. Those agents come in and there are so many faces and so many different aspects of how they project their business model. You and I are in a more traditional now, the large franchise world, and that is a great world.
Right.
Most of the agents, most of the brokers, however, as you know, most of the brokers are not big franchisees.
Right.
They are
Independents.
60% are independent brokers, which I was 35 days ago. And they're running their shop the way they want to run it because they have a dream. They turn that key every morning, just like the guy at the bagel shop, and they run their business. And they succeed, they don't succeed, but they run it. And I believe in that. My business model is more traditional. It's a split house. It is looking for tools. I'm looking for support from a larger entity. But you know, there are many models that make it and some don't.
Yep.
You had concerned, and many people had concern about the Purple Bricks model. They were
Right.
going to come in and they were going to take over. And I wasn't that concerned, and I'll tell you why. Because Purple Bricks was a buyer's side business. They gave away the front end to the listing companies. And I will tell you that the people that really get into this business, Lance, understand two things. They understand the exclusive right listing is the best document that's been created in business and ever. Because when you get a homeowner and you promise that you're going to market and promote their property, you can sign that on a Thursday, go to Cabo over the weekend, and somebody at another company will come in and bring a buyer to that, and it leverages your time. It's a beautiful thing. And that's one. The second thing is that everybody should understand commissions are set for mediocrity.
Okay.
The average commission, it's why commissions are dropping right now.
Okay.
Go to LA, because commissions are set for the average person to make an average average sale or an average living. So follow me on this.
I'm listening. By the way, you got me. This is that inside baseball stuff. So if you guys are going to check out for a couple minutes. Doug and I are
Consumers
gonna
should know
talk here
this.
for a second.
Consumers should know this.
Of course they should.
Here's the thing. Mediocrity. So the average person can make you know what? In any industry, if you're selling furniture, they pay a commission that'll keep the average guy doing it. But the above average, that takes an extra effort and puts in the longer hours and puts in the 12 hours as you and I did. We know
Absolutely.
how.
Speak for yourself.
I know. Well, I'm back to it. I was taking a little bit. But the point is that you put that in and you make this extraordinary income and have this extraordinary lifestyle. And if you learn the leverage of the listing and you learn the leverage of building a team, you actually can create a business that creates a lifestyle. And that's what people get and that's what they want. Purple Bricks failed because They didn't reward the listing agent.
True. Well,
it's the same
I'm gonna-
thing as help you sell.
I'm going to insult you for a second, but I mean this to be a compliment. For those of you that have followed me on my business plan in my office, I have this 95-5 kind of concept.
true.
It's a business planning thing, and the 95 is this is with the insult, which I mean as a compliment. You're a 5%er. But the reality is you're not a 5%er. You're like a 1 or 2%er, meaning you're that top tier. You are the pro. You have a business model. You have the juice. You have the drive. You're going to put in the 12 hours. You're going to do that, as opposed to a large percentage, let's call it 95%, that really aren't. Which, again, not to slander the Purple Bricks folks, I think they're completely out of business, if I'm not mistaken.
They're out of business in the United
Or
States.
they've moved back to Australia
Europe.
or England or wherever they're at.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've dismissed Purple Bricks. And I will tell you, I wasn't so much concerned about Purple Bricks themselves, although I was. I'm not taking that back. I was concerned about what they represented, which was a true discount model.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a consumer, and if I can get it done cheaper, and if I feel I'm going to get a good consumer experience and I'm going to be represented by a Doug, then what the heck? Let me go over here and I'll pay less. But the reality is you can't get represented by a Doug and basically expect to get a discount fee. So let's put them aside. How about the iBuyer stuff? Okay, so Zillow, let me set it up. Let me set you up here. I'll give you softball. You can slam it out of the park. So Zillow recently exited the iBuyer market to much negative, fanfare, and I believe their stock price now is still around $50, which is more than a 50% haircut from where I think it was when they exited.
Yeah.
I don't know the amount of dollars that they lost, but it was a big number. But Opendoor's still out there.
Yeah.
And Opendoor, we were talking about this morning at my sales meeting. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so I won't. But let's just put it this way. A large number of properties were purchased. And so far, I think it was last year, they lost something like $660 million.
Yeah.
So that's a change to our business model.
Yeah, sure.
Even if they take, 2%, 3% of the consumers out there? I mean, I don't like that.
No.
Any concerns about an iBuyer model?
Not so much. I understand that. There was estimates of 15% of the business, and I still wasn't. Look, you and I and our agents that give value, and they give more in use value than they extract in cash value, they can charge anything you want.
Yep.
And the reality is that I'm not afraid of that. Look, ERA said they used to buy them. 40 years ago, we'll buy it, you don't sell it, we'll buy it. Now now every top producer says, I'll buy it. That's a great strategy because you should have that. These models don't change. You and I both know that 30 years ago, Bank of America, do you remember, you're a Coldwell Banker franchisee?
Yes.
Remember when they were in Sears?
Yes.
Yes, along with Merrill Lynch. Those people, those models come and go. I will tell you, this is a relationship business, and the most part, and if you give value, and I give value. Now, discounts are relative term, Lance. I give discounts. I mean, I am not charging what I charged 15 years ago because two things. One, the average sale price has moved up, so my average fee, and that's why the average agent only does 4 or 5 deals a year. You can make $60,000, $70,000 a year doing less than 1 deal a month, and you don't need it, which is one of the issues, and we can talk about this. In 1986, there was 112,000 realtors. Today, there's 220.
I think there's even more than that.
No, it's 220. I just
220. These are
2021
board-paying California Association
Realtors,
Realtors,
not licensees. Licensees and
500,
500.
600, yeah.
And that always happens. So in reality, I am not afraid of these other models because these other models, and I don't want to. There are companies out there that are internet-based and remote brokers, and that's fine, and they're growing quickly. And that's fine, that's a business model. I can compete with them because I know my niche and I go after it. Does it scare me? Can I grow? Look, these things are secular. You just said Zillow went out. We were all looking. If there was a bad market, they weren't going to do well.
Right.
But those markets, those niches will come in. Let me tell you, I had my next door neighbor 20 years ago before I moved. I kept in touch with, I mailed. He just called me, he said, Doug, hey, I just called. Hey, you know what? I wanted you to come over. And I called him back in 30 minutes.
Right.
He says, oh, yeah, but the guy just offered me this amount of money, and he's just an investor, not an iBuyer, just was mailing a neighbor. And he sold the house for convenience, quick sale, and certainty.
Right. So he called you to sell it. You call him back. And
he'd already signed it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want to ask you if it was a good price or?
Well, I already know.
Oh.
Let's just
Okay.
say that I would have comped it at $850. He sold it at $700.
Oh.
He said he would have had to redo his pool. I said maybe that's 15 to 20. But the point is that he sold low for that convenience.
Convenience. Was it really low?
I am not. I am a retailer, not a wholesaler.
Yep.
That's what we do. So in reality, I'm not afraid of that. I can give arguments all day long. I don't want to sell myself on this concept. I think that it's true. You and I bring value in a different way. I'll tell you right now, in this huge market, why couldn't somebody just throw it on Zillow or put a for sale by owner and you'd have 10 people going
Well,
there?
because that's not what they pay you for.
That's not what they pay you for.
Anybody can put it in the MLS. I mean, this has been part of my listing presentation since I was a kid.
Right.
Anybody can put it in the
Right.
MLS. Anybody can put a sign in there. Anybody can do that. You know, you're not going to pay me. We'll leave the numbers out. A fee for that.
Right.
I'll do that for free.
Yeah.
What you're paying me for is, let's negotiate that offer. Let's get
Right,
this thing done in a
marketing's free,
Right.
and keeping you out of trouble and getting the highest price.
Well, it's funny. We can kind of close this particular segment.
Okay.
You must have been reading my cue cards. I know this was a setup, a total home run. So my question was, has anything really changed since you started the business? And you kind of answered that a minute ago when you said when COVID first presented itself and people were kind of having a little bit of a concern, you posted a picture of every real estate sign that you'd had going back for 35 years,
All the
basically
different names.
saying, hey, I've been here. I've been there. You work your business model and everything's going to be fine, which I think is frankly probably the case, right? So as we can talk about all of these crazy things going on, at the end of the day, if you're in our business and you're getting up and you're going to work and every day, taking care of your customers, you know, I have the 2 rules to work in my company. I have 2 rules to work in my company. Conduct yourself professionally.
Right.
You know, but by the way, that's not just as easy as it sounds.
That's not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
But
And again, in the second rule, take care of your customers. Again, it sounds so easy, but you know, there's some really good agents that do very well that I don't believe conduct themselves professionally, and in turn don't take care of their clients. So
I don't want to give the impression.
Not much has changed.
I know you want to move on.
No,
but-
I don't. Keep
but
going. No.
I don't want to give the impression that it's been easy in any of those. I did make mistakes. You know, I didn't see the REO marketing coming at the time, and I was behind that, so it cost me. So over the years, I've done it, but the core, I have struggled in different aspects over the 40 years. I've grown businesses and collapsed business, grown business and collapsed business. But at the end of the day, the core doesn't change. It is a relationship business. When I've done the best, I've built relationships with my agents, and I've built relationships with my customers, and those sustain us.
Right.
And the advice to any new agent is to quickly build, we spend way too much time trying to get business from strangers when we should be doing business with our, we call them spheres, but our relationships. And I would just say that if you focus on that, skills build, they build competence. You need to learn the skills, but then you need competency and confidence. But all of that only counts if you are involved and care that home ownership is what people want, and the buying side, and on the selling side, they want convenience, transparency, and those kind of things.
Well,
we can say they want money, dollars, and fast, but what they really want is
you.
They want
And be taken care of, professional.
They want it to be easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought
anyways,
I thought your 20-year neighbor story was going to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, hey, look at this. This is a relationship business. You
But
but you could you have other stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, it goes
where
all the way.
It's that other past client from 20 years ago.
I just wanted to make the point that those iBuyers have a place, and Sergio, my neighbor, bought into it. He says, they're giving me cash. I can stay over the time.
Right.
They're done. I don't have to fix the house. And I'm already in Texas mentally, Doug. And I go, I could have got you more. And he
I wonder
says,
what would have
I
happened
didn't.
if you had called him 30 minutes earlier. Something tells me
I don't know.
you would have sold that house.
I don't know. Maybe it was 30. Maybe it was an hour. I don't know.
Well,
But it was a short period of time.
Right.
But the point of that is that they filled a niche, and that niche needed filled, and that's fine. I fill a whole nother niche, and quite frankly, our niche is bigger.
Right. Okay, I think I know the answer to this. We've already touched on it a little bit, but it's kind of, I thought I was going in order. Any concerns about interest rates? We talked a little bit about prices. So, I mean, we're right now at about 4. I look at 4 and I'm like, goodness gracious. I mean, if we can't sell real estate at a 4% interest rate, then, and frankly, if we have a buyer concerned about buying real estate at a 4% interest rate, that's an education opportunity. We
Right.
need to explain
Right.
to them, come on, guys, these are ridiculously low rates. As a matter of fact, I said the exact same thing a few years
Yeah.
ago when the market was a little bit tougher and rates were, I think, at 5 or 5.5. And I remember like yelling at my agents and like, if we can't sell real estate with a 5.5% interest rate, then we all need to find a different profession. So, but do you have any concerns about that? And we got a lot of volatility going on right now. You know, Russia's going nuts, and Ukraine, and looks like maybe we're coming out of COVID. You know, mask mandates got pulled. We got that announcement today from CAR. You know, no more masks and all that sort of stuff. So, what concerns, if any, do you have with interest rates?
Well, I have the perspective of selling houses at 18%.
Yes.
And 14 and 15 and 16. Doesn't mean it was easy. Doesn't mean it was great.
But you did it.
But we did it because of the demand. People still wanted this basic thing that we had, which was housing. Now, over the years, I always say the reason to buy today isn't pricing. It's the interest rate. Right. If somebody can tie up a 3.5, a 4, a 4.5 for 30 years, you cannot. There's no other return.
No brainer.
It's no brainer because you can't get that return anywhere. Right. Still, so I am always concerned if rates move up. In the short term, it's good for you and I because people get scared and they come into the marketplace.
True.
The problem is they come into the marketplace and there's nothing to buy.
Yep.
Then they get demoralized and things change.
Well, and it continues to drive up prices. So that's maybe why we'll end up with another 15%.
Here's what always concerns me, and it's not a political thing, it's just the reaction of our legislature and the national and state level.
Yep.
They see inflation. And if the Fed starts raising radically, the reason why we had 20% interest rates in 1980, 81, and 82, 83, 84 was because of the 1970s, we had that huge inflation. And so the reaction is always what concerns me. If they raise them too dramatically, too fast, to hedge inflation, inflation always bothers me.
Yeah.
I mean, heck.
Look at you. Look at you.
It bothers.
It's like my next card.
I'll tell you why it bothers me.
This is why I love you so much. It's like we're my long lost brother. So it bothers you. You're worried about it, and we should be worried about it. And it bothers you because I interrupted you.
Well, two things. First, I went through Der Wiener Schnitzel the other day, and my chili dog was $3.50.
Right.
I bought two of them, and they were $8. I walked out of there $10. And I said, what just happened to me? I couldn't believe it.
Right.
That's one thing, and that's not joking so much, because when that happens, and that has a lot to do with inflation on incomes, on wages, and all of those things have to push up. So those dollars are flush, they come in. We also had all of this money that came in from the feds to help with
stimulus
stimulus packages. So inflation concerns me. If it's the reaction to inflation, and if they push it, and we push, 4% doesn't concern me, 4.5 over a period of time. But if we get to 6 and 7 in an 8-month period, because I've seen that, I've lived that. I've lived them going up 3 percentage points.
You're talking interest rates.
Interest rates.
Right, not inflation, just so we're clear.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Doug's talking interest rates.
I've seen interest rates move from 8 to 11.
Yep.
And then I've seen them drop from 11 to 7.
Right.
And neither one of those is good.
Right.
Because it just creates all of this craziness in the market.
Yeah.
So interest rates being at 4 in itself doesn't concern me. It's the reaction of the Fed and the other side that concerns me. At the end of the day, demand and desire for housing for the biggest population of the millennials will push this market. Inflation is a factor. Interest rates will react to it.
Yep.
Those concern me. I think the industry is healthy as long as we keep to our core values with we believe in home ownership, we believe in the code of ethics, and those two things combined are a big deal to me.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that are watching this forecast with inflation in mind, and I know there are, and there's a lot of followers that we've been watching this for years, we kind of gave me the business last year. Because frankly, if I'm being honest, and these guys can call me out later, but our paid economists that came in, Dr. Thornburg and Manfred Kyle with Claremont McKenna, they almost dismissed inflation like it, literally, like just dismissed it. And I think, again, not to put words in Manfred Kyle's mouth, he was like, hey, we're coming out of COVID, we're screw inflation. I mean, his words literally were, screw inflation. Because he was like, hey, we've got to do whatever we got to do to kind of get the economy back on track. Okay, well now, fine, we've dismissed it, but now we're in it. So I know there's going to be a lot of folks that are sitting back saying, okay, what are we looking like? I'm hearing like 10% of inflation numbers this year. So anyway, so we'll let the economists deal with that. Doug and I have concerns, our opinions about it, but we'll let those guys deal with that. So I want to talk.
Okay, but in their defense, I'll say this and just pull it together real fast. They don't really know, they don't look to the legislature. Some of them do, and see what might happen. But the reactions of our legislatures, our elected officials, is what drives policy that you cannot count on.
Right.
It's the same thing you and I experienced in 2000 to 2005. I didn't know about default swaps.
Right.
Those were created, those underlying things that we don't know about, or the reaction to them, that's what concerns me.
But that is their response. Their response, I think, again, Chris can speak for himself, but they both generally said inflation is extremely difficult to forecast.
It is.
Because it's some sort of policy that's not even necessary.
Okay, well, then we're on the same page.
Right.
Exactly.
And again, not to get too politics, although I want to actually kind of get into politics, but again, with all of the spending we've been doing, the infrastructure bill, and then the Build Back Better, which is, I guess, done, or dead at the moment, but at any rate, very, very interesting. Okay, well, we're running, just like I said, I told you we'd be doing this for a little while. So let's talk politics for a minute.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't, and if I get this wrong, correct me, Doug ran, is it what, 41st, right?
That's correct.
41st Congressional District,
Yes.
was that?
It was 2016.
That was that
election
long
cycle.
ago.
Yeah. It's the year Trump ran in.
Okay, 2016.
Yeah, it's long ago.
Wow, I thought it was 18. Okay, but at any rate, so I thought you were, I thought a few years ago you and I our paths crossed. I saw you somewhere, and you left me with the impression you were thinking about doing it again, and then you didn't. At least I don't think you did. So you have any desire to do that, or?
My political ambitions were driven by a need, and I don't want to sound like I'm, hairy-fairy on this, but I have no desire to be in politics. I thought that I could have filled that seat. I didn't like and still the incumbents there. I'm not happy with his policies and his politics. So I ran against that.
Right.
Now, if there was a place that I was to run, there are some very nice seats, but I'm not needed in a lot of places. I will run. It's just like when I ran for the president of the Board of Realtors, and I drug you back in.
You did. You
I
pulled
thought
me
I
back
was.
in.
I thought I was needed, and we
were.
and we had certain issues. But I will tell you that I was in that for while I was in it. We had a vision when we went in. We left a legacy, and it was time to move on.
Right.
I don't see myself running for office again, if that's what you asked.
That's exactly what I'm asking, because I think you do well. I voted for you. I gave you a little bit of money, not enough apparently, or not a lot of people gave you enough. But
I'll tell you the truth about that. I enjoyed campaigning. It's a funny thing, Lance. The powers that be said, Doug, you're going to have to knock on a lot of doors and make a lot of phone calls. And I go, really? I'm a real estate broker. That's another Tuesday.
Right.
So I was good at it, and I enjoyed it, and I had it. It was all time consuming, and I will tell you, I spent a lot of my own money.
Yeah.
A lot.
I know you did. We talked about it.
Yeah, but that's okay because I have an understanding wife to a point. So the next time, if I'm there, I'll be needed and I'll come in and I'll do that. I think I could have served well, but I'm not so egotistical to think I'm the only one that can serve.
So is Takano's seat, is it like a lock?
I was waiting for redistricting.
Yep.
And that has come and gone, and it hasn't changed that much. I will tell you that some of the state legislatures have changed, the legislative seats. So depending on what side of the aisle on the Republican side, we might pick up some seats in congressional and that, which would be a good thing because a balanced legislature is better than one. I wouldn't even want to see a Republican supermajority like we've seen the other because dumb things get done. So I ran, just to put a fine point on this, because I thought I could be a part of something and do good.
Yep.
And it wasn't my ambition to be a lifelong politician.
Right.
My life's just too good to do that. Frankly, to fly to D.C. and live that life, I didn't want it.
Probably a good thing that kind of passed you by. God knows what.
Well, I
mess
think
you
we would have had,
right now.
yeah.
Or maybe you would have solved everything. Maybe the world would be a better place, and you'd be the Republican presidential nominee coming in.
I doubt it. But the reality is it is a corrupting place, and it was a big concern of me. It's a very corrupting place.
Well,
but that's to answer your question. I'm probably not unless somebody says this is needed, and you have a good shot of winning.
You need to be drafted. Interesting. Well, for what it's worth, I thought Doug was great. I supported you then. I would support you again if the desire arises or if you feel the
Yeah.
need is being called on.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I told
Yeah.
you this would go for a little while.
Well,
so
that's
at any rate,
You
so this is our first installment of our 2022 real estate market forecast. Doug Shepard, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
A pro and a friend.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of this. You did exactly what I expected you to do. So thank you very much. All right, guys.
Always a pleasure.
So this video is going to be posted within 24 hours from the time we shoot it. So today's March 1st. This will probably be on our social media by the 2nd. Right, Adam? Yeah, that's right. And then our plan is to get basically 1 to 3 videos out every week for the next month. So Doug's kicking us off. And who knows, maybe we'll have you back in April and then we could take a look at it and then we could sit back and we could, freaking critique everybody that came and did all of our stuff. So anyway, guys,
not my job.
keep an eye out for more and thank you for watching.